Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen. JJ, what's up, man? Everything good? Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm not Tom Thibodeau.
Hey, listen.
I'm here. I'm working.
New York must just be an insufferable place to be a player, a coach, I've decided. Not just for the reasons of, like, the media being over the top, but, like, think about how little success that they've had and how that blown up success, how going to the Eastern Conference Finals was just such an amazing coup for this franchise, and that their level of whatever a standard of being good for a long time. Like, think about if real teams, and I'm saying that like that, and I mean it, if real franchises who are serious about winning all the time. And actually do, by the way. Like small market, medium market franchises, they do this all the time, and all they do is just grind to figure out a way to keep that thing going. And to grind to figure out a way to make sure that they can keep that success going. And going to the conference finals, by the way, one time, if you go twice and you fail and you're in some market, like, it's like, dude, you better figure this thing out. New York goes. I don't know a market, JJ, that is, and I'm trying to think if LA is like this, but LA's had too much success.
LA's a little more laid back.
Yeah, but they also have success. Like, how many banners do they hang up in LA for the Lakers? I hate the Lakers, but you can't deny what having Jerry West, at the head of your franchise for a long time has meant.
17 championships.
17 championships. The Lakers or the Knicks haven't won one in 50 something years, 51,
1973.
So 52 years. Yeah. They haven't won a title. And they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're like, man, that was so awesome. That was so cool.
First time in 25
years. A quarter of a freaking century since they've been to that spot. They fire their coach because the players don't like how tough of a coach he is, whatever. Tom Thibodeau goes out. But I'm trying to think of a place that is more apathetic toward the losing side, because all they do, they just have gotten used to just complaining about not winning, right? That's their vibe.
Oh, yeah.
It feels very Cleveland Browns-esque.
If you don't win a championship in New York, no one cares.
No one cares.
But they bag on you. Like, the Knicks had a great season.
Yes.
They beat the defending champion Boston Celtics in a 7-game series. People in New York should be thrilled. Can you imagine if the Jazz had a team that made it as far as the Knicks did, but lost 4-1 in a Western Conference final? Would you be distraught in calling for the coach to be fired?
Oh, my goodness.
And saying this team sucks? Asking for the team to trade key players?
Oh, look, when you told me that there were 3 player what do they call those? The player called meetings?
Player-only meetings.
The player-only meeting.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Cat, shut the door behind you. Like, come on. And then guess what? From what we know, how often do the player-only meetings, like, work out? And if you have them too often, you're basically it's turned into a coup.
Well, there's
right?
only one person that's not in those meetings that's part of your group. Who is it?
Right. It's the coach.
Mr. Thibodeau.
And by the way, he's going, don't have player-only meetings. You guys, grow up. I'm the coach. He's very old school like that, right? And I don't know. I'm the kind of guy that I grew up in I like the old school coaches. I like the tough as nails guys.
Well, the players on that team didn't.
I know. And it seems like, do you remember how much people ripped on, think about when Quinn Snyder came and there were like a handful of players who were like, dude, we had to have practice for 2.5 hours today. Remember how people were
Trey Lyles.
It was Trey Lyles going, dude,
I like the 3-hour practice.
Why would I have a 3-hour practice? What's this guy running? It's like an NBA franchise. You know what I mean? Where have we gotten? And maybe I'm so out of touch that it's like, no, you can't treat players like that anymore. And when I say treat players, I don't know what that really means. Just like Tibbs is very gritty in the sense that he is a tough dude, but he also rubs people the very wrong way. And if it does, If Tibbs isn't winning,
Tibbs isn't for everybody.
No, and I get it. But you're saying if you didn't have Tom Thibodeau, you would have actually gone further? Is that what I'm hearing? That's what I'm hearing. Hey, and now that Tom Thibodeau's out of the picture, now this team can have success. I don't think so.
We've seen franchises. I'll throw out the Bulls and Lakers, both with Phil Jackson, having good coaches in place, but realizing they needed somebody else to take them to the next level. I can see that. And, the Knicks can fire whoever they want. Leon Rose can fire whoever he wants. But you see a team that makes it that far. You see the turmoil surrounding. It's like, how did this team get as far as they did when they're complaining about playing too many minutes?
Right. This behind-the-scenes thing.
3 players-only meetings or something to that effect. Bad communication within the team. I mean, it's pretty interesting that the second they're out of the playoffs, all this stuff comes to the surface. I'm sure that wasn't like a shock, but to this degree, how did the team survive and go through the playoff run they made with all this going on? I'm actually impressed. And who does that reflect well on? Tom Thibodeau, because he was the coach that was having to deal with all this drama.
So what I'm saying from all this is I started to think about it, and I was like, really, though? I mean, it's not like we care in Utah about Tom Thibodeau.
No, not at all. Don't care about the Knicks. Not
However, it should be an indicator as to the health of what this organization has going on, right? Could you imagine the turmoil of just firing Will Hardy because, you know what? We got to shake some things up a little bit. You know what I mean? Shaking things up for the Jazz organization. Look, if you start to get everything put together the way you want it, and then things even still melt down there, and there are obvious things here and there that make it very obvious that this is not working out, then guess what? You're going to see somebody get fired. But when you have these types of situations, only in New York can you have Tom Thibodeau being fired after taking the team further than they've ever been. Because no other city is as entitled than New York to go, we should have gone farther. We should have been better. We should make this thing work. I'm not privy to the conversations they have in the locker room, and maybe that's where the conversation should end, JJ. But at the same time, am I totally insane to wonder what on earth they're doing there in New York? I didn't hear what Stephen A. said about it. I don't know if he loved it or hated it because that's his team or whatever.
He did not love it.
But it is weird.
He ripped Leon Rose.
It's weird. And I guess you've got to make these organizational calls. And
did the Knicks hold a press conference? No, they did not.
Yeah, press release. Is
Leon
that all they
Rose
got?
doesn't talk to the media.
No. And
That's, as the kids would say, a little sus.
And
if the guy making all your decisions isn't willing to do even a press conference for big events like this,
comes across as
you fire a coach after 5 years that took you to the Eastern Conference Finals. You got to show up and explain your decision to people. You have to.
I mean,
or not. I guess not in New York if you're Leon Rose.
And I feel like nowadays everybody does this move. Let's just ghost the media. We'll put it out on social media. That's the new media.
They should have fired him at 4:45 on a Friday.
You know what? That wouldn't be fun.
Memorial Day weekend.
That wouldn't be fun though either. Should
have fired him before the series was over.
This is very New York. Hey, just roll it out right now. Send the press release. Hit send, and we'll see what happens. And the fallout has been this. Hey, by the way, welcome to our program. Thanks for being with us today. Our show brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Let's keep this thing going. I want to have a conversation as it kind of relates to even some of the things that we saw the moving parts that go along with everything that has to do with a big move like the firing of a coach. But it's not just the firing of the coach. It's also looking around that locker room apparently in New York and wanting to make some changes there too. So let's get to the cut. We'll jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program. All your trusted local needs in retirement with the fiduciaries at Trajan Wealth. TRAJANwealth.com. They're showing Thibodeau yelling at Josh Hart, and I'm like, Josh Hart needs to get yelled at, by the way. It's the guy who orders DoorDash during the press conferences And then eats the DoorDash during the press conferences too. That was another one that he did.
Why you got to be mad about that?
No, I love it. I love a
He
chicken.
needs to yell at Karl Anthony Towns about this lack of defense.
I love a chicken wing as much as anybody.
Karl Anthony Towns will not be a Knick next year.
That's where I wanted to go next because we've wondered what the laughable situation is going to be in Phoenix with this whole Kevin Durant situation and trying to dump that contract. And honestly, immediately the rumors start to swirl. And again, this is so much a New York thing, too, where they go, well, I don't like this situation with Cat. Can we get Kevin Durant? Can we get one of the best players in this generation? Just send him our way. And you know what? The rumors are that they would be willing to give up Cat. And would it be a straight across situation there? What are we talking about?
I'd have to get the trade machine out, but the money might work there.
The money might work, but also you might actually see the Knicks having to send even, a pick or two here or there. I don't even know if they have any more picks.
The Knicks have picks. The Suns do not. But the Suns want to regain their draft capital, apparently. And they think it's just that easy. Oh, we traded all our picks. Now we want them back, please.
Hey, can you we'll give you KD. Can we get the 10th pick? Can you imagine Kevin Durant? I know he's not in his prime. Give us all our
picks. We miss them.
I know Kevin Durant's not in his prime.
No.
But I think that this is actually a brilliant move if they were to get rid of Cat. Kevin Durant coming back to New York, playing for the other team in New York. And if you get 2 solid years out of KD, Jalen Brunson, KD, Josh Hart, who else on that team? Hartenstein,
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, who's struggled.
Played
obviously.
Too many minutes.
Played
OG
too many.
Anunoby. They've got a lot of talent on that roster.
So when you start to name off the names, then I go, I don't hate that. And by the way, Cat wasn't a fit, it felt like, right? Cat was not a fit. And I don't know if it was because he was playing so poorly or what. But I don't know. I don't know if it, obviously him not being a fit is one thing.
Straight across works. Cat makes 49.2. Kevin Durant 51.1.
Right.
You don't even need to throw in any draft capital.
There you go.
Although I think the Suns would like a pick. The Knicks have picks.
Yeah.
Some of them are not their own. For the first time in a long time, the Knicks have picks.
Well, the Mikal Bridges thing by itself saw him go pick poor for a while.
It makes sense. It makes total sense.
I just wonder. I don't hate it at all. I like that idea. And again, what do you need from KD? You need 2 good years. You need 2.
That's all he has left on his contract.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to get 2 decent years out of the guy. He's going to be energized to not be in a place where he's going to be totally forgotten.
He doesn't have to have the ball all the time. Jalen Brunson can still do his thing.
Yes.
You got a lot of nice pieces that are complementary on that roster. I know Kevin Durant, everybody wants to put Kevin Durant in a trade machine. That's one that actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Let me fast forward you to next season, okay? And the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder mow through the West again and put themselves in the Western Conference Finals. They get the W. They get to the NBA Finals again to be matched up against the guy who took them to the 2012 NBA Finals, Kevin Durant.
That would be cool.
That'd be fun.
That'd be great.
I would love that.
The Thunder will be there, I'm sure. The Knicks, I don't know.
No, I don't know if making a move like that. The health of Kevin Durant is like always in question at this point. Because how old is KD? 37, 38? In my mind, he's 42 because that's the way it's felt like he's 36 or 37 in the last 3 years. But I think that's what he actually is now.
He's 36.
Yeah. And it's an old 36 because
he will be 37 when next season begins.
What injuries have piled up in his career?
The Achilles in the finals is the one that really stands out.
Was tough. And he just has never looked like a guy who's, it always looks like he was on the verge of tearing an ACL or an Achilles
let me say this,
anyway.
though. I mean, is Kevin Durant the explosive, energetic player he once was? Probably not, but 26.6 points per game last year, 6 rebounds, 4.2 assists, shot the ball well.
As an afterthought, because it barely felt like that they were.
He was on a bad team,
and they were not interested.
He's one of the reasons why they were bad, right? He has to take responsibility for the failure in Phoenix.
So I was hearing Jake and Ben. I don't know if it was one of their promos or something, but they talked about like the flawed player, right? It's like don't pick up a flawed, expensive player. And does KD fall in that category of way too expensive and way too flawed? That you would have to that you go out and Karl Anthony Towns, who's 26 or 27 or whatever it is now, like that guy is still supposedly.
But he's also flawed.
Doesn't play defense.
Former number one pick.
Yes.
Who's an exceptional offensive talent.
Yeah, four-tool guy. The fifth one is
40% three-point shooting center.
Yeah.
But he can't defend a lick. And you wonder, all those years in Minnesota, they were bad. As soon as he leaves, or once they bring in other guys, they're good. As soon as he's not the best player on that Timberwolves team, they're good. I think you really have to be concerned about that. And he wasn't the best player on the Knicks. And in fact, if you go through the playoffs, he had moments for sure. That game they beat the Pacers in, when they were down 20, and he literally by himself brought them back into that game. He has that ability offensively, but it's just not consistent enough, and the defense really hurts you. And I think there's criticism, fair or not, that he just hasn't been a winner as an NBA player, at least as a number one, which is what he wants. That's what he's being paid like. He makes $49 million a year. You expect him to be a number one. And if he was traded to the Suns and they decide to keep Devin Booker, then that's your new pair moving forward. Similar in age, they're both Kentucky guys. It makes a lot of sense, right? This trade makes sense. And I think it would make sense for the Knicks, for Kevin Durant to go back to New York.
Yeah.
And it would make sense for Karl Anthony Towns to go somewhere where there's just not as much pressure and where he doesn't have to be number one. Devin Booker's the number one guy in Phoenix.
Yep. What's his is Bradley Beal
still there?
Is he still with us? Is he still with us in the NBA?
Still with us?
I just remember, because you think of a guy
he's probably washed as an NBA player, but he's not anywhere near death.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, is he still in the league? The guy's the most overpaid non-contributor, I feel like, or non-factor person. When you talk about...
He doesn't deserve a no-trade clause. There's no doubt about that.
Kevin Durant...
He had 17 points per game last year, but he didn't play a lot.
He probably woke up and maybe an agent called him, or maybe a friend had been like, New York ? And then I bet he probably woke up with a little bit more pep in his step than we've seen out of Kevin Durant in a while. You know why? Because this guy won titles, it feels like 100 years ago now, right? You think about on those Golden State teams and you go, oh, and did he win 2 titles then with them? He won 2. He won 2 of the 4. He won 2 of the 4 titles, and he wins those 2 titles. But it feels like it was so long ago. And for him to be able to, because he's only ever cared about the playing part, right? He's a super weird dude to try to crack off the court. He's not exceptionally fun with the media. He is a social media guy, even though he pretends like he's not. And I'll tell you,
he's sneaky fun with the media. He plays the antagonist a little bit.
I don't even care kind of attitude.
But he does a pretty good job, actually.
Well, I think that this
but you're right. He's a tough nut to crack. He's an odd dude. There's no doubt about that.
This is a guy who played already in New York, right? So when you think about that stretch with the Nets, which was a massive fail.
Oh, for sure.
This could turn into something that it would be the last moment in his career where he could really legitimately talk about being in the conference semifinals, the conference finals in the East, and maybe even a push to the NBA Finals. That road to the NBA Finals in the East next year is going to be really difficult because the Cavaliers are going to have a massive chip on their shoulder. They're going to have a lot of talent still in that locker room, and probably not the same injuries that we saw this year that cracked them so badly in the playoffs. And if you think the Celtics are going away anytime soon, I don't think that's the case either. They did just lose Austin Ainge in the front office,
though, right? What do the Celtics look like? I mean, you look at the East. I'm glad you brought it up because it's really an interesting conversation. The East is interesting because it's so wide open.
We already dismissed the Indiana Pacers next year, by the way.
No, not at all. Maybe this is the start of something.
Get those guys out of here.
Maybe this is the start of something with them. But all of a sudden, because Jason Tatum's out, it's like, if you're the Bucks, what do you do? Does that give you pause? Wait a minute. Maybe we could put something together here. We don't have Damian Lillard, but maybe we're still in this. Maybe with Giannis, if we keep him, we still got a shot at this. If you're the Pistons, you're like, hey, we're the neck. We are next. We've got one of the best young ball handlers in the league. We got a number one guy in Cade Cunningham. We've got an alpha. We're ready to go.
They look at
You're
Oklahoma
the
City
Magic,
right? They look at the Oklahoma City Thunder and they go, that's us. You know
Orlando
what I mean?
Magic played
They're
the
on their way
Celtics
up.
tough.
They're on their way up.
That's a young team. If they can stay healthy and have a better record in the regular season, maybe they put themselves in a better position.
You've only got a small window while you have both Wagners on your roster. You've got to take advantage.
You've got to take advantage of full Wagners.
Full Wagners.
The Sixers.
Oh, see now, That's a crazy thing because they get a number 3 pick and they're already a team that like sort of did this weird mail it in after I don't know how. And Paul George
it wasn't weird. They would have lost their pick had they not finished if they had been less than 7.
Yeah. So I think
if they had not had a pick between 1 and 7.
It's an interesting thought because Philadelphia could immediately get better again.
Oh, for sure.
They'll screw it up somehow. Daryl Morey find a way to screw it up somehow. But it is now the East looks like. I mean, and I'm watching a promo on TV right now. They're showing the Pacers and the Thunder with a finals promo on TV, and you're like, man, that Pacers team, I don't hate it. Like for a long-term situation,
they're good.
But the Knicks could immediately make themselves. I think if KD gets on that team, and I know maybe I'm dissing Cat too much on this, and maybe I'm giving KD too much credit.
Cat's not a good fit there. They already had Mitchell Robinson at center. I think this makes so much sense for everybody involved.
It's the only trade we've heard with KD's name mentioned where we go, you know what?
That makes sense.
That makes sense. And so
going to the Rockets doesn't make sense to me outside of the numbers, or where all these other places. They're trying to shove an old superstar in San Antonio. Why? Why do the Spurs have to do that? They don't.
You know what the wildest rumor was that I read today? The possibility of somehow figuring out how to get Rudy Gobert to New York to play defense.
That tells you how bad. That's all you need to know about the situation with Cat.
Chris Herring wrote it up for ESPN. Someone like Mitchell Robinson could give Towns a back end defender more along the lines of someone like Rudy Gobert, who also could be an interesting prospect if you could make the numbers work. The numbers don't work for Rudy Gobert ever going to New York. Okay. Oh, here comes the trade machine. Here comes JJ with the trade machine. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. When we return, we're going to chat a little bit about. I'm interested in so many things today, but the Austin Ainge. He was on with DJ and PK today. I got to hear chunks of this while it was going on live. I was just. No, it's not a good trade.
You got to throw in another player. The Wolves would have to throw another player.
We had to throw in you'd have to throw in a lot of players, right? The T-Wolves would have to throw in more players?
Yes, that's how expensive Karl Anthony Towns is. As much money as Rudy Gobert makes.
I was going to say, I thought it was going to be off by $10 million.
Rudy makes 43 per, Towns 49.2.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You know what? You trade him back to Minnesota again. It's not even him. It's not even. Look, he sees what they're doing there. He wants to get back to that. He wants to hang out with Chris Finch again. Missed that whole situation. Some stability. Somebody was pointing out, they're like, listen to Karl Anthony Towns and his fake New York accent during all these interviews. That was the new one. Oh. Is they're pointing out his fake New York accent, and you're like, come on, let this kid play basketball and just try to like the city that he's in. Come on, can't you just like him? All right. When we come back, we've got a conversation to have about Austin Ainge and some of the things that he said. The tanking question from yesterday, which was followed up with a very terse response, ended up being the thing that blew up so much overnight after we heard it yesterday. So a couple of things in there. They asked him about the tanking situation. They asked him about the protected pick impact and how that's going to go for this season. So we'll listen to those next. Stay right here with us. More to go on a Tuesday edition of the program, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest name.
You're locked into JJ and Alex, with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I was excited to see a playlist that was suggested to me by Apple this weekend, and offended at the same time. It was like, hey, I thought this was a joke because my kid had mentioned this to me, like, hey, we're in the car, and my oldest was like, hey, let's listen to this, because he knows that he likes to listen to this type of music. And then he goes, hey, put it on this playlist, and I didn't think much of it. But it's a literal – I thought he made it. You know, back in the day, JJ, we had to hustle and make our own playlists, all right?
We made our own mixtapes.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of work.
It was not easy
You had to push two buttons at once.
It was not easy to press record on those things, all right? And so Apple Music has an album called Dad Rock. And I was like, it just has a baseball hat on.
Screw you, Apple.
I put a baseball.
Baseball
I
hat?
know.
Look at you.
I know. I'm wearing a freaking hat because
what
you know
would
what?
I be doing if I wasn't wearing a suit and tie?
They nailed it.
I'd be wearing a hat.
They nailed it. They're like, this guy's probably a little bit overweight, maybe wearing a hat. You'd like this playlist. And I was like, fine. I like begrudgingly pressed play on it.
You look like you're 45 or older.
Fine.
Here's some grunge rock.
I'll listen. Dad rock. I thought my kid mentioned it. He goes, yeah, he's like, hey, listen to this. It's dad rock. And I was like, okay. And it was
Kurt Cobain rolling over in his grave right now.
well, that was the thing. It was like Pearl Jam, Nirvana. There was definitely
mocking his art and calling it dad rock.
There was definitely a what was the one that came on that I skipped? What was it? Third Eye Blind came on. I said, nah, I'm out. I can't do it. There's some
that wouldn't make my list.
Third Eye Blind feels like a very specific area in my life, like time frame. I know where I was when I was listening to it.
That doesn't make the cut for me.
I don't like it. I don't like it though.
Keep it out of my dad playlist.
My dad show me with just a generic hat on. Jeez, ridiculous. The generic hat, by the way, is like the character that was always. Wasn't Stanley Tucci like a terrorist in a movie with a hat on? Just a generic hat. It's like a gray hat. That's how you knew he was the bad guy.
Remember Rob Lowe and the, what was it, an NFL hat?
Oh, yeah. The NFL hat, yes.
Who wears an NFL hat?
No, nobody.
Who?
Just Roger Goodell's kids. All right.
Always repping the shield.
Let me see here. We've got some sound to play from Austin Ainge, who joined DJ and PK today. And it was a very interesting moment yesterday when the question was rolled out about, kind of tiptoeing around the T word, right?
Don't say it. That is not what the Jazz did.
Right, and you certainly aren't going to say it to the brand new executive. But Austin Ainge was asked about it on DJ and PK today about the tanking question, and here's what he had to say about it yesterday.
And I think we have to keep all of those different ways on the table. The optionality, we have to find value, and we have to make smart moves. And so I don't know how it'll play out, to be honest. It's still too early. We'll have to see what opportunities present themselves to us. But if you go back to the question that was asked before that soundbite, it was asked in a specific way, and I responded to that. We're gonna fight to the end. We're gonna let whatever group we end up with fight, and we're gonna let Will Hardy fight and try to win and improve, and we're gonna do everything we can every night. So that's kind of the question I was answering.
Didn't appreciate the tone, I guess, of the question. If you go back and listen to the question, I was answering that question. That's why it came out that way, because none of these guys want to come across as somebody who would even entertain that. You talk about people being Jazz DNA, right? They've talked about that before.
Yeah.
There's a behavior that's Jazz DNA too, and losing basketball games has never felt it's felt more off-brand for this franchise than any of the other ones that we know about in the league. I can't think of another team that it would be more strange to just tank games than the Utah Jazz. One, because we haven't been used to it here. Two, because of the ownership that has had a hold of this franchise, the last two groups of ownership. Like, it just doesn't, they're too competitive. It comes across, it's not the way they do business. And which I appreciate, right? And I think the fans appreciate. That's why it makes it so hard, right? And then what did Ben Anderson tell us yesterday? The way he put it, he goes, to purposefully do it or something along those lines. It was like,
engineering.
Yeah,
losses,
it was basically
manipulating.
And it was like doing it on purpose versus not doing it on purpose, and that's really what you're coming down to. The reality is the team won't have to do much to lose a lot of games next year because the roster is not going to be a playoff roster. It's not going to be even bottom third roster. It's going to be the bottom of the West type of a roster. Again,
well, we don't know.
I just can't imagine that it would turn around in 1 year.
Well, you're right in that. Right? What's the expectation?
I don't know.
What could the Jazz
at this point,
possibly do this offseason to change that? Not much. It's more likely that they would move a lot of guys out, veteran players, for more assets to build for the future. I'm going to be really fascinated because Austin Ainge is going to have a major stamp in this offseason, right? He was brought in now for a reason. Not brought in September. He was brought in now to put his stamp on this and help the Jazz move this forward, whatever this is right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think we know, and I don't think they know. It's an evolving thing. But that's the problem, is fans don't know. And this is where the Jazz, this is where it gets tough for them. Because I think they're doing the right thing. Where in today's NBA, you can't be in the middle. Can you? Look at the standings. Do you want to be the Bulls? Do you want to be the Hawks? Look at the Hawks. The Hawks have a massive payroll. They're paying Trae Young big money. They can't even win a play-in game. They hired Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder's not a rebuild coach. He's a win-now coach.
Nope.
Where are they going? Where are the Miami Heat? What future do the Miami Heat have? Right? So you start looking at some of these teams. I'll throw the Clippers out there. Where are the Clippers? They're not anywhere close to winning anything right now. The Grizzlies kind of feel like that. The Kings definitely. The Mavericks just won the lottery. Before that, I was like, what are they doing? But there's a good handful of teams in this league where you're not really sure where they're at or what's the next step or what they're doing. And they're kind of stuck because they don't have any assets to do anything. That's not the Jazz. And they made the right decision when they did to move on from Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. And I think it's hard for some Jazz fans still to watch those players go on other teams and win playoff series. Something that they were struggling to do when they left.
Yeah.
So, but my point is they doing the right thing, but how patient can fans be, and is the messaging that you're putting together, the message you're sending to your fans who come watch you and come buy the jerseys and pay the tickets to go to the games, even though that's not as important as television money, but it does matter.
Yeah. Well,
I don't even want to call it a message. The bond between the fans and the team, I think, is fragile in this market right now.
And
agree?
And if you think that the hockey team
how are
didn't
you
actually
handling that relationship? How is this organization handling that relationship? I don't know.
I'm telling you,
we talk to fans all the time,
and they've
frustrated. About had it.
Yeah, and it's actually a level of apathy that's tough to swallow.
It is.
Right?
It's not anger; it's apathy.
Right, and it's
I'm going to watch hockey.
That's exactly right. What the Mammoth did this year was actually kind of add on to the angst that fans have had as Jazz fans, right? And I don't know what moves they could make running up to, like, what would be something that you go, you know what, they are big game hunting. They are trying their darndest to figure this thing out. It's not like this is a group of a bunch of low IQ basketball people.
Do you want Karl Anthony Towns to be your face of your franchise? Kevin Durant's too old. Keep going down a list of guys that look like they're available out there.
That would actually be available.
No, I think there's more players available now than there's been in quite some time. I mean, we just saw Luka Doncic traded, so anything is possible, right? But I don't know what that fit is for the Jazz. So back to where you originally started is how bad are the Jazz going to be? They have to be really bad, and they got to make changes to their roster to get that bad. Because if they keep Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen and some of these other guys, some of these veteran players, Jordan Clarkson, if they keep them on the roster, they're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but they might be so good that they have to convey that pick, and that would be a disaster for the Jazz next year.
Yep.
Remember, that's important to remember. Conveying that pick. If they have to convey that pick, that could be if it's like 9 or 10, that could be a really good player in next year's draft. You want to avoid that? So you either want to be all in on a playoff run or you want to be bottom 8.
Yeah, and then
That's hard.
And then you get into a prospect of.
But again, back to the original question that got all this started is, don't you have to manufacture that too?
Yeah. But I think
you got to either make trades in the offseason or you're going to have to manipulate minutes during the regular season. What if that team's too good and you end up being, what if you drop 2 spots in the lottery and you end up having to convey it? That would be a disaster.
I think the reality is that you're actually going to have to manufacture it less next year. Unfortunately, it's like legitimate bad, right? Well, I think when we did our pre-draft show, didn't DJ, he goes, this is more of a 35-win team that won 15. Was it 15 or 17? 17. This was a 35-win team that won 17. And that's obviously also up for speculation and up for, well, really, is that the reality of it? And I'm telling you, next year it's going to be a 17 to 20 win team, and they will be that level.
So you believe
of
they're
talent.
going to ship out a number of veteran players in the offseason? Because that's what they would have to do.
It's not a
make that
number.
happen.
It's not really even a number. It's really one big one. And I think if Lauri Markkanen ends up being shipped off, which I could totally see happening, then, then who cares about, if the Jordan Clarksons or the John Collinses? After that, what veterans are we talking about? We're not really – what other people –
Colin Sexton's a big piece there.
Sexton would be a big piece.
That you would have to move because that dude plays hard.
Sexton and Markkanen are, I think, legitimately on the table, right?
Everybody is.
Everybody is. Maybe minus Walker. But we'll see. Next thing that was brought up in DJ and PK was he was specifically asked, Austin Ainge was specifically asked about the protected pick and how that's going to have an impact on this year. You brought it up, and obviously you cannot convey that pick. Here's what he said.
It's a huge factor, but there are many other factors to consider, right? The toll it takes on a team and an organization to only think about that pick, right? The effect it has on all the other moves and decisions you make. So there are a lot of other things to consider besides the pick. The pick is really important, and obviously no one wants to just give away first-round picks, but there are a lot of other things to consider, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, they're going to hustle. They're going to figure it out.
One thing I want to note in what he said there is the toll. Austin Ainge has been on the job for a day, less than 24 hours, and he already understands that there is a price to pay for this. This is not fun. And we talk about it from a media perspective. We talk to a lot of fans. How hard has this been on the players on this roster? How hard is it for a Lauri Markkanen who is playing at an all-star level, who wants to win, to have to endure last season? How hard was it for Walker Kessler, who had an amazing third season, absolutely established himself as a top 15 center in this league? How hard was it for him? How hard is it for some of those rookies to go out there and get clobbered every night? It can't be fun. And how do you keep a positive culture, in the midst of the losing?
Yeah.
That's all tricky. So Austin Ainge gets it, that you're going to have to navigate that very carefully because you do not want this to take a toll on those players. And David Locke mentioned this when he was talking to Hans and Scotty in the 2 o'clock hour. You have to give your players hope. Not just fans, not just everybody that watches. You have to give your players and your organization hope. And how does Utah do that this offseason? How do they do that moving forward? Because if they do what they did again last year, and the question that he was asked in the press conference was fair. Are you planning on doing that again? They can't.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep doing that every year because pretty soon you become one of the worst franchises in the NBA. And we've seen over the years that you can get stuck in that mode.
Yep. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We have a Would You Rather right around the corner. It's it's one of my more weird ones. So good luck. I mean, the good thing about the Would You Rather is it's all subjective, right? I'm not gonna come back at you, and no, I will. If you make a bad decision, I'll come at you. But it's gonna be an interesting one. It has to do with nicknames. So just stay right here. More to go right around the corner. 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone. Every Wednesday is a Win Ticket Wednesday right here on your dial. A Win Ticket Wednesday this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be giving away tickets to Aerofest with Styx. Kevin Cronin, who's the former lead singer of REO Speedwagon, and Don Felder, who was also of the Eagles fame. That's going to be June 11th at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets are on sale now, but win tickets tomorrow all across the station. Just listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day long.
So not REO Speedwagon, not the Eagles, but one member of those bands is showing up to do what exactly?
And guess what? Styx is going to be there too. Oh, they're going to perform.
Is that the full sticks or?
These days, I have no idea what the makeups of the bands are anymore. You know what I mean?
I mean, it'd be pretty cool to hear Styx play Renegade.
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet.
Obviously, Styx is still with us.
From the control room.
Obviously, Styx is still with us. All right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be advertising a concert. How dare you? All right? Let me see here.
Tommy Shaw is still with us. Is that what you're asking?
Is that what you're asking? If you would have, like,
Lead
if your
singer
life
of Styx.
depended on it, could you have named one member of the band, Alex, our producer? No, you would have been murdered. You would have been killed. Okay. I was just wondering. JJ, Cal Rowley, who's having a heck of a season for my Seattle Mariners. I don't know if you know this.
Not paying any attention.
He leads. Will you stop? Will you stop?
You lost me at Mariners.
No, listen. He and Shohei Ohtani are tied for the most home runs in the league. Don't do your petty fake clap, okay? But don't worry, because I had forgotten about this, but they kept bringing it up because do you know what his nickname is? Big Dumper.
Big Dumper.
His nickname is Big Dumper. All right.
Okay.
Now, I thought.
And why might that be?
I thought, hey, you know what? Not a good look if you're trying to be, because somebody brought up like he should be in the conversation of MVP. Aaron Judge, it's his award to lose this year. He's batting almost 400. He's at like 393. He has 21 home runs compared to Ohtani and Raleigh's 23. He has, I think, second or has the most. He has the most hits in the league. He has almost the most RBI. He's legitimately having an insane year, and that's with Shohei Ohtani, who has obviously insane years.
Aaron Judge hitting 391 while hitting 21 home runs.
Not bad.
Is insane.
Not bad for a guy who's 6'7", 285, right?
Right.
So he goes in. But Big Dumper is having a heck of a year. Okay, he's a great defensive catcher. It's awesome. However, I will say this. I've pulled up a list of the worst nicknames in sports history.
Wow.
Yes. And you tell me.
Worse than Big Dumper.
Worse than Big Dumper. Oh, yeah. Well, because there are a lot of bad ones out there. All right. So I'm going to just start it off. I found a list of the worst in the history of nicknames. Now, do you remember? It never took, but people tried to call him this periodically. So Big Dumper or the Big Fundamental? Tim Duncan.
Big Dumper is at least funny. The Big Fundamental is the most boring.
Big Fundamental matches his freaking game, though, right?
The most boring nickname for the most boring superstar of my lifetime.
Ever. Right. Best player to never be remembered ever again. Like half the people, like if you tell my kid, hey, blah, 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 Tim Duncan, he's like, who's that? I'm like, oh, probably the best power forward in the history of the game.
Yeah, but if you put a Tim Duncan highlight reel on YouTube, it'd have like 15 views.
It'd be a lot of baby hooks, all right?
Wow, 15-foot jumper off the glass.
11 feet from the baseline. Wow. Okay. So so you chose Big Fundamental or Big Dumper?
No, I'm still with Big Dumper.
Big Dumper or Big Donkey?
Big Donkey.
Yeah, Adam Dunn.
That's right.
Was known as the
Cincinnati
Big Donkey.
Reds. Big Donkey. We went from Dumper to Donkey.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but Coco Crisp, his real name isn't Coco Crisp. It's Covelli Coco Crisp. So, Big Donkey or Coco Crisp?
Still Big Donkey.
Big Donkey or... the mailman made the list with a bad nickname.
It is a terrible pun.
It is bad. It is bad.
He's the mailman because
it's a bad
he
dad
delivers.
Joke. Yes, it's a bad dad joke. So mailman or Big Donkey?
Big Donkey's better than the mailman.
Big Donkey or the hick from French Lick? Like that is bad. Look at
the
Alex's
hick from
face.
French Lick.
Hold on. Do you know who the hick from French Lick is?
You don't? He's one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
It's Larry freaking Bird, my guy.
He's from French Lick, Indiana.
Nah, he's from French. But the hick from French Lick is not. Well, yeah, because people weren't trying to say it out there very often. I don't think we mentioned it very much, right? How about?
So you got a honky and a donkey. I like it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you got the hick from French Lick. All right. So did you go with the hick?
Yeah,
from
let's go with the hick from French Lick.
So the Hick from French Lick or the Flying Tomato. Do you know who the Flying Tomato is?
I do know who the Flying Tomato is.
Worst.
You don't know?
This is like your generation, guy.
Snowboarder.
Shaun White. Come on.
That's his nickname?
Oh, yeah.
The Flying Tomato.
It's not a good nickname. That's why it's on the list of worst nicknames. But that's where it is. Oh, okay. Now this one, we're skipping that one. That's not good. You don't want to be called any of those things. Oh, do you remember? Okay.
Well, we did read Big Dumper over the air.
Well, Big Dumper is his real nickname.
Well, those are real nicknames, too. Why
Cal
can't you say
Raleigh,
those?
Because there are children listening. Alex, our producer, was one of them.
Nate Dowdle's in the room, too.
Well, Nate's in there. That didn't help either. There's lots of, now hold on a minute. Did you know that Icky Wood's actual name was Elbert?
Oh, sure.
I did not know it was Elbert.
What, he
I just thought it was Icky Woods.
Thought his mom named him Icky?
Icky, yeah, man.
Of course that's a nickname.
Okay. Do you remember Vinny Microwave Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
So the Microwave or the Hick from French Lick?
The Hick from French Lick.
Okay.
The Microwave makes sense.
All right. The Microwave makes sense. Oh, boy. Okay. There's some. These are all good ones. These are all really good ones.
It's still tough to beat Big Dumper, though.
Big Dumper is
but
like
Big Donkey did it.
But
for
I'm
him.
telling you right now, you're having a good season in baseball, and your nickname is Big Dumper. We can't make you the MVP of the league.
It's tough, man. You're gonna have to change that.
And plus, the narrative of Major League Baseball is we will allow two players to be the MVP of the league.
We're talking about Aaron Judge. We took All Rise,
and
right?
yes, and Aaron
Judge.
Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Those are the only names that Major League Baseball right now want to pimp. They do not want to talk about a guy named Big Dumper, even though he's hitting home run after home run.
Sorry, Cal.
He's
Raleigh,
he's also very much a catcher, and that is he's batting like 250. So 250, 23 home runs.
Wait a minute. So
yeah, that's
he bats
a very
250, and Mariners fans want him to be getting MVP consideration.
23 homers. He and Shohei have the same amount. All right,
get out of here.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. You got more to go right on the corner. When we return, what do we have here? Oh my goodness, we're going to chat about. We got all sorts of things. We haven't been able to play the Alex Jensen, Kevin Young conversations from last week at the Big 12 Business Day. So we'll bring that up next. Stay right here with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.